Driving like you mean it. Getting to where you're going and staying out of the way while doing it. Before we get started, nothing in this video is intended to circumvent existing local, state, and federal highway laws. These are merely guidelines that should be easy to follow without breaking existing laws in your jurisdiction. As always, personal responsibility takes precedence. Hi there, I'm Brandon Rubo, and I've been driving for a quarter of a century, and I've logged almost 750,000 miles in that time. I have 5 advanced driver's courses from the government through my Army experience. I've driven everything from up-armored security vehicles to up-armored Humvees and tank recovery vehicles. I've driven everything from backcountry roads to the German Autobahn to the IED-covered streets of Iraq. Before we get started, I'm going to play a little George Carlin to lighten the mood. Enjoy.
I don't talk about myself very much in my shows. You know, it's really not my style. But I had an incident in traffic recently that I think I ought to tell you about. And there are a couple things about me you ought to know first. I drive kind of recklessly, I take a lot of chances, I never repair my vehicles, and I don't believe in traffic laws. So I tend to have quite a high number of traffic accidents. And last week, I either ran over a sheep or I ran over a small man wearing a sheepskin coat. And I don't know because I didn't stop. I do not stop when I have a traffic accident. Do you? Huh? Do you? No, you can't. Hey, who has time? Not me. I hit somebody, I run somebody over. I keep moving. Especially if I've injured someone. Now, on the other hand, if I should be out driving around looking for a little fun, and I see an accident, one that I'm not involved in, I stop immediately. Well, I want to get a good look at what's going on. I enjoy that sort of thing. Someone else is injured, I want to take a look. I am Curious George. You know? And I'll tell you something else. I'm a big fan of traffic accidents. You know my favorite accident? 2 buses and a chicken truck. Get hit by a circus train in front of a flea market. Well, I want to see something interesting. I'm looking for a neck sticking out of a gas tank. If I'm going to take the time to stop, I expect a couple of fucking laughs. And if my car should happen to be in such a position where I can't quite see what's going on, can't get a good enough look, I'm not the least bit shy about asking the police to bring the bodies over a little closer to the car. Pardon me, officer, would you fellows mind dragging that twisted-looking chap over here a little closer to the car, please? My wife has never seen anyone shaped quite like that. Look at that, sugar lips. That's his rib cage sticking out of the glove compartment. Thank you, officer. That will be all now. You can throw him back on the pile. We'll be moving along, and off I go out onto the highway, looking for a little fun.
Keys to driving well. Number 1, be prepared. Knowing where you're going in advance of the trip and the route you're taking, planning for traffic and weather conditions, and having a well-maintained vehicle. 2, be skilled. Seeking out to improve your driving ability on various types of road surfaces and weather conditions will assist you to adapt to changes as they occur. 3, be confident. A significant percentage of driving errors and accidents are due to driver anxiety. Scanning ahead 100 to 300 feet will allow you to see potential hazards before you encounter them. It will also help identify which drivers aren't as skilled. I, as a side note, very rarely look at the car ahead of me and their brake light. I try to see the car ahead of them, because if they start braking, then you know you might have to, and you can just merely coast instead of hitting your brakes. Don't drive impaired. This is a big one. This is the largest cause of accidents on the roadway. Don't drink and drive, or do any substances which may affect your ability to react to other drivers. This includes medications with unfamiliar side effects. Impairment can also include such things as weather conditions, thinning tire tread, bad brakes, cracked glass, reduced vision, burned out light bulbs, etc. If your car does not work properly, it is an impairment. Do not drive distracted. Put away your cell phone. Don't be fiddling with the radio or searching around the vehicle for lost items. Use your judgment when eating while driving, but remember, driving comes first. Don't be scared to drop the food if you need to react to traffic. In some states, if you get into an accident while eating, they can charge you with distracted driving. But don't take my word for it. Here's a short British clip on why you should not text and drive or drive distracted at all.
Hi, James. My mate Jules fancies
Please
you.
don't. Cass.
It's not a funny
No, it's not even funny now.
Oh, let me just get his number.
Merging on the highway. Get up to the speed of traffic before you merge into it. Do not expect the traffic to move over for you. It is your responsibility to merge safely. It is not the responsibility of other traffic to let you in. Use your signals. Always and early. Even when changing lanes and merging into or out of traffic, even when in a lane where you can only turn one direction. It's actually required by law to use your signals in a left or right turn only lane. Make sure the signals also work. Check the bulbs frequently. Signaling before using your brake will help other drivers know that you may be braking soon. But don't take my word for it. Here is Trooper Lewis from the Colorado State Patrol.
It's your responsibility anytime you change lanes to make sure it's clear to do so. It is a requirement to utilize your turn signal. This is not an option. Want me to say it in Bostonian? Use your blinker. Okay, we got that down. Safely change lanes whenever you are doing so.
Braking on the highway. On the highway, resist the urge to slow down using your brake if you can help it. Coasting down to a slower speed will prevent the person behind you from having to use their brake, and so on. People have a tendency to overpress their brake, and after chain reaction, you'll have people doing 30 in a 60. Only use your brake if you intend to stop or where coasting is not slowing your vehicle down enough for the conditions or traffic volume. It's not the fast lane. It's a passing lane. Unless you are exiting on a left side exit within the next half mile, use the leftmost lane for passing only. That means you should be in the right lane, or the center lane, for the majority of your time. When you do need to pass, put on your signal, pass between 5 and 10 miles per hour than the vehicle you're attempting to pass, then put your signal back on again to merge back to the right and resume the speed you were doing before the passing maneuver. This does not mean speed excessively. It simply means pass like you're intending to get back over in a reasonable amount of time. Do not attempt to pass if you are within 1 mile of your right lane exit. Doing so may cause you to cross many lanes of traffic very quickly and cause people to brake in order to let you over. Here's a short video from Vox explaining the left lane laws in multiple states.
A few months ago, I took a road trip from Chicago down to New Orleans, and on the way back up, we were somewhere either in Tennessee or Missouri. I got pulled over. It's my first time getting pulled over, and it wasn't for speeding. It was because I was driving in the left lane.
So there are basically two types of drivers in the world. There are people who get really upset about all the people driving slowly in the left lane.
That's Joey. He fits in the first group.
And then there are a lot of drivers who have no idea that this is even a problem.
Yeah, that was me. Sorry about that. I don't drive much. The truth is, when drivers hang out on the left lane, it makes traffic worse and more dangerous for everybody involved. Here's what that looks like.
If you have relatively slow drivers scattered amongst the right and left lanes, faster drivers have to repeatedly slow down and weave back and forth, changing lanes many times to pass all of them. So if you're going 5 miles slower than everyone else and you're traveling in the left lane, it forces them to make dangerous moves trying to pass you on the right, which is more likely to cause an accident.
But there's a better way for traffic to flow, and that's if we only use the left lane for passing.
If all the slower drivers are in the right lane, a faster driver can pass several at once, then get back over to the right, which cuts down on the total number of lane changes and eliminates the slowdowns.
Move over or get a ticket. That's the message from state troopers to people driving too slowly in the left lane.
Some people argue that as long as they're going the speed limit, they shouldn't have to move over.
Now, some of you may be saying, well, if I'm in the left lane and I'm going the speed limit or more, don't speed, and somebody comes up behind me and they're obviously speeding, I'm performing a public service by slowing them down. All right, we're going to stop there for a second. We're going to go back to a lesson we should have learned in grade school, which is 2 wrongs don't make a right. In fact, on the highway, 2 wrongs equal a lot of wrong, and it's a recipe for disaster. So you are not the guardian of the speed limit on the highway. We are. That's our job. We enjoy our job. Please let us do it.
But there's evidence that slowing down and changing lanes is actually more dangerous than speeding. Research has shown that the strongest predictor of an accident is variance from the average speed of traffic. And a car going 5 miles per hour slower than the surrounding traffic has a greater chance of causing an accident than one going 5 miles per hour faster. That's why every state has some law on record that restricts the use of the left lane. In 29 states, any car that's moving slower than the surrounding speed of traffic should be in the right lane. And in 11 states, the laws are stricter. They say that the left lane is only for turning or passing.
Historically, police didn't really pay that much attention to slow left lane drivers, but more recently there have been campaigns in places like Washington, Texas, and Ohio where police are actually issuing tickets to people they spot traveling slowly in the left lane.
The reason why I stopped you is the law in the state of Washington is keep right except to pass.
This is something that has always been illegal and against the law here in Michigan, but now officers are rolling out this new education effort to help the public understand just what they can and they cannot do when it comes to this type of driving.
Now, it doesn't have to be this way.
A good example of this is the German Autobahn. So this is Germany's highway network, which has long stretches of road with no speed limits, and it has surprisingly low accident rates. One reason for this, some researchers think, is that German drivers are more likely to stay in the right lane for traveling and only use the left for passing.
Let me repeat that last part for you because it's very important.
One reason for this, some researchers think, is that German drivers are more likely to stay in the right lane for traveling and only use the left for passing.
That shared norm helps keep them safe. So, fellow drivers, I am sorry. I didn't know the rules, but I'm not alone. And if more people understand how this works, we will have much fewer traffic jams, and our roads will be a lot safer too.
Here's Trooper Lewis again to explain passing lanes with multiple laned highways.
When there's 2 or more adjacent lanes, meaning lanes connected going in the same direction, the lane furthest to the left is reserved as the passing only lane. So that basically means you should only be in the left lane when actively passing, and then you should safely exit to go over to one of the right or center lanes. Now there's a flip side to this, and some of you might not like what we have to say about it. And that is, despite some videos that have gone around without any scientific research, infographics without any sources cited, that meme people love to share, violation of the left lane law in and of itself, not actually the top cause of crashes. Not even in the top 10. You know what are some of the top causes of crashes?
Here's a table from the National Highway Transportation Safety Association. If you look at the sections, driver recognition error makes up for 40%, driver decision error makes up for 34%, and driver performance error is 10%. Of the recognition error, you can see distractions and inattention make up a significant chunk of those pre-crash driver-related causes. Within decision error, you see too fast for the conditions, false assumption of the other's action, illegal maneuver, following too closely, things of that nature. If you're paying attention and you know what to look for, the driver cause of crash drops significantly. Okay, let's talk about that false assumption of others' action. This is where the term defensive driving comes into play. If you're constantly scanning ahead 150 to 300 feet, you can start to tell when somebody may or may not be driving attentively. This is also where you can notice if people are using their signals correctly, are braking too much or too little, so that you are not caught up in an accident that may be caused by others. A good example of this would be at intersections. There are many states which require specific turn lanes to turn into from other lanes. For example, at this intersection, you see it is a 4-lane divided going east-west with a turn-only lane on the inside near the intersection, and a 4-lane running north-south with no designated turn lane. This is a typical major intersection. There may be specific signage already posted telling you what you can and cannot do from each lane, but for this diagram, I'm going to go over just the basics. As always, the signs take precedence. In this example, the red car is traveling south from the inside lane. They will have the choice, usually, of going straight or turning left into the inside lane, or turning right to the inside lane, because that is where they started from, the inside lane. The blue car, being on the outside lane, either has the choice, typically, of going straight or making a right-hand turn to the outside lane. The gray car, being in a designated turn-only lane, may only make a left-hand turn to the inside lane. The yellow car, being on the outside lane, traveling east-west, has the option of going straight or making a right-hand turn to the inside lane, similar to the blue car. The green car, seeing as he is in the middle lane, not a designated turn-only lane, only has the option of going straight, unless there are posted signs stating otherwise. Vehicle causes. You can see that tires failed or degraded wheels failed. Makes up almost 50%. Brakes failed is another 25%, so always make sure that your brakes and tires work. For weather causes, these are things that you should plan for in advance and know how to maneuver through. On the roadway, slick roads like ice make up almost 50% of weather crashes, which brings us to inclement weather driving. It is important to note that there are a lot of people who do not understand inclement weather. They may go too fast in the snow or too slow in the rain. It's important to be defensive in these situations and to scan ahead. Also give yourself a lot of extra following time. The 2 times on slick roads you have a greater chance of losing traction are during braking and during acceleration. While you're coasting, generally will not be a traction issue, except on some curves. But always give yourself enough time. Also, it is important to note that roads have the greatest tendency to be slick when the temperature is at or around freezing. Between 25 and 35 Fahrenheit is when that falling snow becomes slush and then ice very quickly. If it's very, very cold, it may just freeze on impact and blow off with the wind, but as always, be careful of road conditions. Additionally, during inclement weather, you should have your headlights on. In almost every state, the law is that your headlights must be on when it is raining or snowing, or of course at night. If your vehicle is equipped with automatic headlights, you should know that the light sensor, usually on the dashboard, determines when those headlights will come on. If it is nighttime, the headlights will come on, the taillights will come on, and there's no problem. However, if it is raining out and you have the automatic headlight setting, Your headlights and taillights will not come on automatically in the rain if it is still light out. You may have daytime running lights, which will appear to be like headlights from the front, but people behind you may not see you because your taillights will be out. Taillights only come on when the full headlight setting is on. The bottom line here is safety. Following these tips will prevent the majority of accidents. Statistics bear out that distracted and impaired driving, which includes weather and vehicle conditions, cause significantly more accidents than speeding, although the damage and injury risk does go up with speed, so don't go excessively or recklessly fast. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Any comments, you put them in the comments below.